America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm your host, Epic Journeyman, and this show is for the brave. Welcome, everybody. I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer. As long as I can remember, back to the days of Pong and the 10-cent tables that somehow my parents snuck me into at the VA club or something like that back in the day. I've always played games. We had the original, it was a Star Trek base, it was called Space Wars, and the Teletype, Tektronix they called it, Teletype machine. I played that. And you know, I've always been interested in science, and I always thought it was funny that they taught the chimpanzees how to do things by rewarding them with a banana by touching things in a video screen, like a big video game, And like, well, we're not like that, are we? But what if we are? Have we been being trained this whole time? I mean, if you're beating down blocks in Mario Brothers to find coins and it's training you to persevere, that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. I mean, it teaches you some skill and perseverance, right? But what about those things that you kill along the way? Those toads you stomp on, all those animals that get destroyed in the process of you completing that level. You know, if we're the chimpanzees, what's it really teaching us to do is teaching us to kill each other. It's desensitizing us to the idea of reality being objective based. It's called gamification. That's the name, gamification. And gamification is the idea of taking the concepts of what makes a game addictive and attractive, things like risk reward that have no real consequences. You lose lives, so you might have 5 lives in reserve, right? So it takes that amount of risk away, but the risk is still there. And then the reward, whether it be a flashy item or a new piece of gear or kit in the game or a point reward or whatever, it's all about risk reward, and it's about stretching your abilities in such a way that you find a way to overcome obstacles to win the game, right? To beat the level, Now, this may sound pretty benign, but it's not benign at all. Now, this is coming from Video Gamer, mind you. I have every VR headset ever made. I've played games since I was 7 years old, and I'm kind of old now. So I have some objective experience in this field. What I'll say is the idea of gamification wouldn't be as big a deal if not for social media and the internet and things that could project it out to the world, or video games themselves. It can be mass marketed in a way that can hook people and deliver a message through the title or the action in the game. So just think of some of the games over the years, right? What are they called? I mean, famous games, right? And you think about this from I want to say military objective, or perspective, but a notion of trying to instill a particular mindset in people through playing that game. So just think of them. Defender. Well, that sounds good, right? Oh, Defender, that's cool, right? Uh, Space Invaders. Well, we've got to defeat the aliens. That sounds good, right? Call of Duty. That's probably a big one, right? Call of Duty. Well, now put that in the context of what this means when you're triggered. I mean, people use that word triggered way more than it should be and for the wrong things. Triggered, from my perspective and the way I'm using it here, is more like from the idea of the Manchurian Candidate, where there's a trigger word or a trigger object that puts a psyche in motion, has been trained to react to it. So in this context, when Call of Duty is the trigger, right? The idea is when it's time to be drafted, it's time to go to war, it's time to answer the call of duty, you're trained already to that. It sounds silly. It does, but it's not silly. A whole generation of people who've grown up playing that game, they know the title. The title they know more than the gameplay. What's the gameplay? It's seeking out and killing the enemy. I'm not anti-video game at all. I'm just pointing out that from almost a Pavlovian response, there's a risk-reward idea, but in this case, reward. And the reward is, oh, I've played this game, and and if I go join the army, I'm gonna get this reward that I've played in these games for so long. It's a conditioned response. That's what Pavlov was all about. Was conditioned responses, right? That's who's famous in psychology for. That's the point I'm making. So ineloquently, I spoke really bad about it, but and I won't try to correct it now because it's not worth trying to correct. That's just the way I talk when I'm talking randomly on a Sunday afternoon, which is what I'm doing right now. And this is actually a prequel to the actual episode. So this is a prequel to episode 18 of Epic Insights, which is gamification. And I want to make sure I get the music out of the way and all the things I want to use in the episode now because I have a feeling a lot of them might be banned. And I don't want to go through all the effort of making the whole episode and having to get struck before I'm done and then being frustrated trying to go back and try to find replacements for what I already have planned. So, but I can get most of the ideas out. So the ideas I'm trying to put forward are that this isn't some novel idea that came about recently. It's been planned for a long time, and it might very well be that video games themselves that tie into chimpanzees, that's real, that's totally real. And it was done from psychology departments in universities, in military institutions. I mean, that's what they were doing. They were training these chimpanzees. And why were they training chimpanzees? They're closest to humans. And what they were trying to find was the things that stuck and trained that they could use on people. Gamification, right? This is the whole thing. So once you know that, it becomes difficult to look at it any other way than that. I love games. Games are great. Games are social building, friendship building things done properly. I mean, games, we play them in the field, running around, and it makes us better athletes, and keeps us in shape. We engage in chess and things like that, and learn how to strategize and think ahead, do logic problems. It's all the strength of games and the power of games in a positive light is one of the best things humanity has. One of the things that really separates us from animals and really makes us the top tier of our ecosystem. It really does. It's because of games. But when games are abused, and they're kept in the arsenal like a quiver, an arrow in the quiver, rather, for people who don't have our best intentions in mind, but want to be able to use us as ammunition in the wars they fight, whether they be physical, psychological, or sociological. We're worse than being a pawn if we don't understand it's being done to us. And the only way to really fight it is to know that it's out there. So that's the premise of the show. I probably spoke really ill overall about what it's going to be about. This isn't the episode. This is going to be the prequel, like I said, of how it's going to go. I'm going to play a couple songs that will be in the episode, and I want to try them out here. So you'll probably just get to hear them briefly. The video will be up for maybe a day or two. I just want to make sure it doesn't get too many strikes or anything. And then I can use those songs that I want to use in the actual episode. and I'll make the whole episode. So I apologize for the tease, but it's a good tease. It's a good episode. I think it's a good concept, and I'll of course have a better dialogue when I'm releasing the whole thing. But here we go. Sometimes these things are better said in a song, and one of the best songs that describes this is this one.
Lottie plays with Jane. Jane plays with Willie. Willie is happy again. Suki plays with Leo. Sasha plays with Brit. Adolf builds a bonfire. Enrico plays with it. Whistling tunes, we hide in the dunes by the seaside. Whistling tunes, we're kissing baboons in the jungle. It's a knockout. If looks could kill, they probably will. In games without frontiers, war without tears. If looks could kill, they probably will. In games without frontiers, war without tears. Games without frontiers, war without tears. Andre has a red flag, Cheyenne Shings is blue. They all have hills to fly them on, except for Lin Taiyu. Dressing up in costumes, playing silly games, hiding out in treetops, shouting out rude names. Whistling tunes, we hide in the dunes by the seaside. Whistling tunes, we're kissing baboons in the jungle. It's a knockout. If looks could kill, they probably will. In games without frontiers, war without tears. If looks could kill, they probably will. In games without frontiers, war without tears. Games without frontiers, war without tears.
So part one of the full episode will be about gamification used as a method of getting the population ready for war, because that's what it is in many ways. That's what it is. And that's how it was first developed, I think. And there's no coincidence with game theory. The term arises based on this in some ways. We could go off into Intel world about that too, but probably will in the episode. I think that it's pretty disturbing when you know this is something that's been around for a long time too. It's not like this is something that just came up in the 20th century. It's been around a lot longer than that, and I'll go into that That'll be part of the dialogue for part one of that episode. Well, that episode is this episode, the upcoming episode. Part two is going to be about the music industry and how the gamification of the music industry, because a lot of the reason games work, people don't think about it, but it's true. The reason video games are somewhat addictive and compelling isn't just the gameplay. If there's no noise behind the gameplay, people wouldn't play. It's the aural, AURAL, stimulation, the sound, whether it be the sound effects of the game and of course the actual music in the game that makes it work. Those are the drivers that make it compelling. It's not just the action and the sights you see, and rewarded with in the process of playing. Sure, you can play some simple game like Lega or something without the sound on, and it'd be okay, I guess. But some of the more modern games, they just don't work without the sound. They don't. And it got me thinking that I've heard so many of the musicians in the industry refer to the music industry as a game. They do. There's all these videos about, and I'm not saying that they've sold their souls or anything like that. There's all these videos about they sold their soul for rock and roll. That's a famous one. It's on YouTube. It has millions of views. Yeah, and it's worth watching, by the way. It is. It's interesting to say. To be sure, it's interesting. Is it true? I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do think it's true that once you're in the industry at a certain level, you understand the game aspect of it because they make it known to you that you have to get so many sales and you have to get so many ears on, so to speak, and there's an aspect to it that plays into this gamification that I've brought up as a subject earlier. And I don't know about the dark side of it so much as just the put it in context of it's the idea of having a background noise for a generation, whether it be a song or just a sound effect. If you play that at the beginning of the program, that 80s arcade music, it makes you think of the 80s immediately, doesn't it? I mean, it's the sound of a generation. If I play a terrible song, Beach Bunny or something, Beach Baby rather, it's going to make you think of that era. If I play surf music from the Beach Boys, it's going to make you think of that time. And a lot of times a certain song will make you think of that particular era, like the summer of '68 or the winter of '79 or whatever. It just happens to be the thing that it's like the accent point of that particular moment in time, and that's not by accident. So I thought it was interesting that particular context has only been written about and sung about a couple times. And I'm sure other people come up with other ideas, but about what song best represents it, because the one I'm thinking of probably isn't that well known, but it's a good one because it sure sounds like that's what they're singing about. Check this out.
You think that something's happening and it's bigger than your life, but it's only what you're hearing. Will you still remember when the morning light has come? Will the songs be playing over and over till you do it all over again? Play the game tonight. Can you tell me if it's wrong or right? Is it worth the time? Is it worth the price? Do you see yourself in the wise light?
It's fun just to listen to music sometimes. Anyway, I want to make sure those songs work and don't get removed by YouTube. So that's why we're making this prequel test for the actual episode. Maybe I should do this more often and just call it Hanging with Epic or Epic's Garage, or viewers are invited to give a good name for it. We could do that. The actual episode has to have about 40 minutes more content, 35, 40, somewhere in there than this. And it'll have them. I mean, it'll be more research and have some references and some other video clips and stuff to play um, from experts and that kind of thing, highlighting the topic. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Just in case I don't get back, or I get taken by the aliens or something, I'll go with my regular outro. Aloha. See you soon.